Linear and circular patterns are used quite a bit in the certification exams. I'm going to go through a couple examples of how to use both of those. So first off, I have a part here and I want to make a circular pattern. So I'm going to choose this front face here, click on OK, click on normal to, and then go ahead and start a sketch. And I'm just going to draw a simple circle. Now I'm going to define that bolt hole circle by the center point here. I'm going to snap that to the center of the circle. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose a dimension here. I'm going to say 225. And then I want to make this circle here construction geometry. So I'm going to click on construction and switch that over to construction geometry so it knows where it is. I'm going to use another center line from the origin to the center of the circle. And then I can define that angle. All right. And in that angle here, I'm going to call it 20 degrees. And then define the size of that circle with a 30 millimeter circle. Okay. Once I have that, I'm going to go ahead features and I'm going to say extruded cut. I'm going to cut that all the way through the part, so through all, and click OK. Now I'm going to take this one hole that goes all the way through the part and I'm going to pattern it around. So I'm going to go to circular pattern. I'm going to choose my reference axes, which is going to be the center of this cylinder here. Notice I can choose that. And then notice by default it's choosing a 15 degree spacing and 9 of those. I can change the spacing if I wanted to, up or down. I can type in a value here, like 30 or 25, whatever I'd like. And then how many of these I'm looking for. So if I put 30 and I put 9, they'll go all the way around here. If I make this, let's say 20 degrees, then I can go and add 13 or 12 of these holes around this part. I can also use equal spacing. But that's going to be putting holes where there's no material to cut. So we don't want to be doing that one for this example. So turn that off. Let's use 12 and then click on OK. That's as simple as the circular pattern is. Let's jump over to 2.11.2. You can see I've got 2 hexagons already laid out as a sketch. So I just created the sketch here, which is sketch 2. And I made it cut extrude through this part. Now I want to create a linear pattern of this and create a honeycomb. So I'm going to click on linear pattern. And I'm going to choose my first direction as this one here. So it's going to be any linear edge in the direction I'd like to travel, which is going to be this one here. And then down here for direction 2, I'm going to choose this edge here. Now for the spacing, I can just type in a value here, or I can link this to a global variable. I can even pull sketch entity values into this. So first, before I do that, I'm going to click on the feature I want to pattern, and that's going to be this cut extrude. So there it is. And flip the direction here. And flip it there. Hold on, there it is. All right, that's what we're looking for. So you can see I have the exact values here of 3 millimeters and 1.732. Now, that's not by accident, that's exactly the values we need, but I can also just type in a value here. I can say 3 millimeters or 30 millimeters, and it's gonna give me a preview what's gonna happen here. I can also flip the direction and tell me how many I'd like. Same thing up here. I can define this value to be anything I'd like. So right now it's at 3. I can change that to any value above that or below that. Doesn't really matter. But I want to make sure that I define how many instances I'd like. So you can see I have 23 here. Actually, I want to have 4. And as soon as I go to 4, notice it gives me a preview. But that's really not what I'm looking for, right? So I want this to be exact honeycomb. And to do that, I can actually reference this sketch originally here. So right here in this first value, I'm just going to say equal to. And click on equal. Now I can choose a function or a file property, or if I double click inside of this feature here, you can see that 3 right there. I'm going to choose that 3. And then for my spacing here, I'm going to say that's also equal. And I've laid out this sketch right here. And that's my spacing there. And then I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. So it's 3 and click on OK. And that's my linear pattern. So a bunch of different ways you can use that. So you can just type in a value, you can link to an equation or a value, you can even link to a sketch. I just wanted to point out before we close on this one that if I look at the sketch, I defined it so that I see that I have a 3 millimeter spacing between these. And then I pulled a reference value here, how far it's going to be up to that next instance. So I added a little smarts into my sketch using some construction geometry. So I could choose those when I create the pattern so they come out perfectly. So those are the basics for both a circular as well as a rectangular pattern. Most of the time in the exams I've seen, there is going to be either one of these used. So make sure you brush up on it and are very familiar with creating a pattern, especially the circular pattern.